A$AP Rocky, one of the most influential names in hip-hop and fashion, found himself at the center of a high-profile legal battle that captured headlines worldwide. The Grammy-nominated artist, whose real name is Rakim Myers, was accused of firing a gun at his former friend, Terrell Efron, known as A$AP Relly, during an argument on a Hollywood street in 2018-2021.
Oh, I see you got ills and 12E on the jet, and it became like an inside joke because Rocky hasn't hit them, and it just became an inside joke, kind of. So then Rocky's like, oh yeah, I got my with me, boom, 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 whatever.
The case quickly became a media sensation, not only because of Rocky's celebrity status, but also due to the serious nature of the charges, which carried the potential for a lengthy prison sentence. Born and raised in Harlem, New York, A$AP Rocky emerged as a key figure in the hip-hop industry, with his breakout mixtape Live, Love, AP, followed by a string of successful albums. Beyond music, his influence extended into the world of high fashion, where he became a trendsetter and collaborated with major brands. His relationship with global superstar Rihanna further cemented his position as one of the most talked-about figures in entertainment. Despite his success, Rocky's career faced a significant threat when he was charged with 2 felony counts of assault with a firearm. Prosecutors alleged that he had pulled a gun on Relly during their altercation and fired multiple shots, grazing Relly's knuckles. If convicted, Rocky faced up to 24 years in prison, an outcome that could have derailed his music career, upcoming projects, and public image. As the trial unfolded, the case drew intense scrutiny, with fans and media outlets closely following every development.
A$AP, how do you feel? How do you feel, A$AP?
The legal battle wasn't just about proving Rocky's guilt or innocence. It was about the consequences of fame, loyalty, and the blurred lines between personal disputes and legal accountability. A$AP Rocky and A$AP Relly were once close friends. Their bond formed during their teenage years in Harlem, where they were part of the A$AP Mob Collective. The group, which stood for Always Strive and Prosper, was more than just a rap crew. It was a movement that helped shape modern hip-hop culture. As Rocky's star began to rise, his music career skyrocketed, bringing him mainstream success, brand deals, and a level of fame that set him apart from his peers. However, as Rocky's influence grew, his relationship with Relly began to deteriorate. Over time, tensions between the two escalated. Relly, who had ambitions of his own in the music industry, felt sidelined by Rocky's success. Rumors of business disputes, personal disagreements, and financial tensions swirled, further straining their once close friendship. By the time 2021 arrived, their relationship was no longer that of 2 collaborators. It had turned into a bitter rivalry. The growing animosity between them set the stage for what would later become a pivotal moment in both their lives. On November 6, 2021, Rocky and Relly crossed paths near a hotel just a block away from the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The two had reportedly argued the day before, and their unresolved dispute led to another heated exchange. Witnesses described seeing the two engaged in a tense confrontation, their voices raised as tempers flared. Surveillance footage captured snippets of the argument but failed to provide a clear view of what happened next. Relly later claimed that Rocky pulled a gun from his waistband and pointed it at him, threatening to kill him. He alleged that Rocky then walked away, but when he followed, Rocky turned back and fired multiple shots, one of which grazed his knuckles. However, there was no direct video evidence of the shooting, and the weapon was never recovered. Relly's delay in reporting the incident further complicated the case, as law enforcement could not locate any shell casings when they arrived at the scene. The conflicting accounts of that night would become the focal point of the trial, with both sides presenting their versions of what truly happened on that Hollywood street. During the trial, Ahap Relly stood by his accusations, claiming that ASAP Rocky had escalated their dispute into a life-threatening situation. According to Relly, what began as a verbal argument on that Hollywood street quickly turned dangerous when Rocky allegedly pulled a gun from his waistband and pointed it at him. Relly testified that Rocky stared him down and threatened, "I'll kill you right now." Feeling provoked, Relly said he told Rocky to go ahead and shoot, but instead of immediately firing, Rocky turned and started walking away. Relly stated that as Rocky was leaving, he continued shouting at him, which led to another confrontation just moments later. This time, Relly alleged that Rocky pulled out the gun once again, but this time he fired multiple shots. One of the bullets, Relly claimed, grazed his right knuckles, leaving him injured but not seriously harmed. The prosecution argued that this moment was a clear act of assault and that Rocky's actions showed a disregard for human life. Despite these claims, there was no solid physical evidence to support Relly's version of events. The biggest missing piece of the case was the firearm itself. Authorities were never able to recover it. Rocky's defense team used this to their advantage, arguing that there was no way to confirm whether the weapon was real or just a prop gun, as the defense claimed. Without a gun, there was also no way to prove definitively that live rounds had been fired that night. Further complicating the case, when police responded to the area, they found no shell casings at the scene. Relly, however, later provided 2 shell casings, claiming that he had gone back to retrieve them hours after the incident. The defense raised doubts about this evidence, suggesting that Relly had planted the casings to frame Rocky. The absence of video footage showing the shooting itself and the conflicting narratives between both sides made this one of the most debated aspects of the case. With no gun, no immediate police report from Relly, and no clear-cut forensic evidence linking Rocky to the shooting, the case became heavily reliant on testimony. The trial soon shifted focus to witness credibility and whether Relly's claims could hold up against Rocky's defense strategy. During the trial, the prosecution focused on painting ASAP Rocky as an aggressor who used his celebrity status to avoid accountability. They argued that Rocky had intentionally fired at ASAP Relly during their heated confrontation, citing Relly's testimony as the primary evidence. Relly took the stand and recounted the events of that night, insisting that Rocky not only pulled out a gun but also fired multiple rounds, one of which grazed his knuckles.
Rocky hasn't hit them, and it just became an inside joke, kind of. So then Rocky's like, "Oh yeah, I got my with me, boom, 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 whatever." And then instantly after that, he says, "That Relly." And I'm like, I'm sitting in the back of the chair, and I kind of get up, and I'm like...
Attempted to bolster their case with testimonies from law enforcement officers and a firearms expert. Although no weapon was recovered, they presented surveillance footage from the surrounding area, which captured portions of the altercation and recorded the sound of gunfire. However, there was no clear video evidence showing Rocky actually firing a gun. Prosecutors urged the jury to focus on the audio, arguing that it proved a shooting had taken place and that Rocky was responsible. Rocky's defense team, led by attorney Joe Tacopina, launched an aggressive counterargument. They claimed that Relly had fabricated the entire story as a setup to extract money from Rocky, pointing to a pending civil lawsuit Relly had filed against him. According to the defense, Relly had a financial motive to frame Rocky, hoping that a criminal conviction would strengthen his claims in civil court. A key element of Rocky's defense was the assertion that no real firearm had been used at all. They argued that Rocky had been carrying a prop gun, obtained for a music video shoot, which only fired blanks. Without a recovered gun or any ballistic evidence proving otherwise, The defense insisted that the prosecution had no case. They also cast doubt on Relly's credibility, questioning why he had waited 2 days to report the incident, and how he conveniently found shell casings at the scene when the police had not. The trial was marked by several dramatic moments, particularly during Relly's cross-examination. As Tacopina pressed him about inconsistencies in his story, Relly became visibly frustrated, at one point calling the defense lawyer annoying. His agitation prompted the judge to intervene, telling him to take it easy and drink some water. Tensions ran high, with both sides delivering heated arguments that kept the jury on edge. The defense also introduced key witness testimonies to challenge the prosecution's narrative. Adolf AP12, another member of the Ayayapo Mob Collective, testified that he had been present during the altercation and had not seen Rocky fire a real gun. He claimed that Rocky had only used a prop weapon and that Relly was fully aware of this. Additionally, Wally Sajimi, a digital branding consultant who had worked with both Rocky and Relly, provided a crucial piece of evidence, a recorded conversation in which Relly allegedly admitted that his goal was to sue Rocky for money. During the trial, the jury listened closely to witness accounts, weighing the credibility of both sides. The prosecution leaned on Relly's emotional testimony, while the defense focused on dismantling his claims, pointing to the lack of physical evidence. As the case progressed, it became clear that the verdict would hinge on whether the jury found Relly's story believable, or saw Rocky as the victim of an elaborate setup. Throughout the trial, Rihanna stood by ASAP Rocky, proving to be his strongest source of support. She was present in the courtroom for several key moments, making it clear that she was standing by her partner despite the serious charges he faced. Her presence added another layer of media attention to the already high-profile case. As one of the biggest global icons in music and fashion, Rihanna's involvement ensured that every courtroom appearance was closely watched by fans and the press alike. On the day of the verdict, Rihanna arrived with their 2 young sons, RZA and Riot, creating a powerful and emotional scene. As the jury announced the not guilty verdict, the courtroom erupted with cheers.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of the
And Rocky immediately leapt over the wooden barrier to embrace his family. Rihanna, visibly emotional, hugged him tightly as he whispered his gratitude for being given a second chance. Her unwavering support throughout the trial only reinforced their public image as one of the most influential power couples in the entertainment industry. Beyond the emotional toll, the trial posed a significant threat to Rocky's career. With potential jail time of up to 24 years hanging over his head, a guilty verdict would have been devastating, not just for him personally, but also for his professional future. Rocky had major projects lined up, including a headline performance at the Rolling Loud Festival and a role in a Spike Lee film alongside Denzel Washington. A conviction would have derailed these plans and left his reputation permanently damaged. Even as the case unfolded, the media played a crucial role in shaping public perception. Some outlets framed Rocky as a troubled artist entangled in violence, while others portrayed him as a victim of a fabricated accusation. Social media further amplified the debate, with fans split between supporting Rocky and questioning his innocence. Rihanna's courtroom appearances also fueled public interest, with discussions on how her presence influenced both the jury and media coverage. Celebrity trials often blur the line between legal proceedings and entertainment spectacle, and Rocky's case was no exception. The intense coverage and high-profile nature of the trial turned it into a topic of global discussion, raising questions about how fame and influence affect justice. In the end, While Rocky walked away a free man, the trial served as a reminder of how quickly a celebrity's life and career can be thrown into uncertainty. After nearly 3 hours of deliberation, the jury reached its decision. A.$AP Rocky was found not guilty on both felony assault charges.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of
The verdict marked the end of a highly publicized trial that had threatened to alter the course of his life and career. For Rocky, this moment was more than just a legal victory. It was a validation of his defense, which argued that he had been falsely accused by A.AP Relly in an attempt to extort money. The lack of physical evidence, combined with inconsistencies in Relly's testimony, played a crucial role in the jury's decision. With no firearm recovered and conflicting witness statements, the prosecution had struggled to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. As soon as the not guilty verdict was read aloud, the courtroom erupted in an emotional response. Supporters of Rocky, including Rihanna, his family, and close friends, clapped and cheered. Rocky himself, overcome with emotion, jumped over the wooden barriers separating him from his loved ones, embracing Rihanna and their 2 sons. Tears welled in his eyes as he also hugged his lawyers, thanking them for their relentless defense. Meanwhile, Relly sat in silence, his expression unreadable. The prosecution, visibly disappointed, knew that the loss of this case would impact Relly's pending civil lawsuit against Rocky. After the trial, Rocky expressed his gratitude, turning to the jury and saying, "Thank God for saving my life. Thank y'all for saving my life." In the days that followed, he remained relatively private, likely taking time to process everything he had been through. His legal team hinted that he was eager to put the ordeal behind him and refocus on his music, business ventures, and family. The not guilty verdict also dealt a significant blow to A.S.A.P. Relly's civil case. He had sued Rocky for damages related to the alleged shooting, but the criminal court's decision weakened his claims. The defense had consistently argued that Relly's accusations were driven by financial motives, and now, with Rocky cleared of all charges, it would be even more difficult for Relly to prove his case in a civil court. Additionally, Rocky's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, had hinted at possible legal action against Relly for defamation, making it clear that the battle between the 2 former friends was far from over. While Rocky walked out of court a free man, the trial left behind lingering questions about celebrity justice, the power of media narratives, and the impact of personal vendettas playing out in legal settings.
A$AP, how do you feel? How do you feel, A$AP?
One thing was certain. This case would be remembered as one of the most high-profile celebrity trials in recent years. A$AP Rocky's trial was more than just a legal battle. It was a spectacle that captivated the public, fueled by media coverage, celebrity involvement, and the high stakes at play. What began as a dispute between former friends escalated into a criminal case that could have led to 24 years in prison for the rapper. The prosecution relied on A$AP Relly's testimony, surveillance footage, and audio evidence to prove Rocky had fired a gun during the 2021 altercation. However, the defense systematically dismantled the case, pointing out the lack of a recovered firearm, inconsistencies in Relly's statements, and the possibility that Relly was motivated by financial gain. In the end, with no solid physical evidence linking Rocky to the alleged crime, the jury found him not guilty. With his name cleared, Rocky now faces a future that could have gone in a very different direction. His acquittal allows him to move forward with his music career, upcoming performances, and high-profile fashion collaborations. He is set to headline the Rolling Loud Festival and has a role in a Spike Lee film alongside Denzel Washington, projects that could have been derailed had he been convicted. While the trial may have temporarily slowed down his momentum, his status as both a musician and fashion icon remains intact. The public's support, particularly from fans and fellow artists, has reinforced his place in the industry, and he now has the opportunity to reclaim his narrative. Beyond Rocky's personal journey, this case serves as yet another example of how high-profile trials shape public perception of the justice system. Celebrity cases often blur the line between legal proceedings and entertainment, raising questions about whether fame plays a role in courtroom decisions. The media played a crucial role in amplifying every detail of the trial, from Rihanna's presence in court to Relly's heated exchanges with Rocky's defense attorney. In many ways, the trial became just as much about public image as it was about the facts of the case. For A.P. Relly, the verdict raises serious doubts about the strength of his civil lawsuit against Rocky. The not guilty decision weakens his claim, and he now faces scrutiny over whether his accusations were exaggerated or financially motivated. Meanwhile, Rocky's legal team has hinted at the possibility of counteraction, meaning the legal battle between the two former friends may not be entirely over. As the dust settles, this trial will be remembered as a defining moment in A$AP Rocky's career. It was a test of resilience, public scrutiny, and legal maneuvering. With the case behind him, Rocky has the chance to move forward, but the broader conversation about justice, fame, and the influence of media and celebrity trials will continue long after the courtroom doors have closed.